What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of The Right Side of Campus. It's Friday, a football Friday, December 7th, 2018. I'm your host, the big man on campus, getting you ready for a weekend in football. Army, Navy. We got some FCS bowls or games. We got all sorts of basketball, a big Saturday card. We got a late Friday card, all sorts of stuff coming up. We welcome you in. Let's welcome in our co-host, Donnie. Donnie, how you doing?
Doing good. Hey, another football Friday. And if you watched last night, we'll talk about that football game there. We'll talk about also, Jeff, the do's and don'ts of Thursday night football. So, good show. Football Friday, even though there's one game in college football tomorrow. So, it's not really an exciting game as we anticipate waiting for bowl season. See if we can have some fun today. Maybe, have a little bit of off-the-record talk here because there ain't much going on in sports right now.
We welcome you in. Hope you had a great Thursday. Do us a favor, hit the like button, retweet the show if you're on Twitter. Great way to get it to people that maybe don't know what's going on or maybe haven't seen it. If you're new around here, subscribe to the channel and make sure you're checking out all the great content. A lot going on at SBR. There's new changes, new shows coming, all sorts of shows currently. If you're a basketball fan, soccer, whatever you like, SBR has it covered. Make sure you're reading all the great blogs, too. A lot of people write great articles over at sbrpicks.com. Make sure you support those people as well. Also, SBR Odds, if you need the book, you need an odds or a line, make sure you're checking out SBR Odds. 40 different sports books that you can wet your whistle in and see who has the best numbers. Make sure you're checking out all that. Now, Donnie, how was your night? What did you do last night?
Watch football game. Same as probably 90% of people watching this. But other than that, just your typical night.
You actually sat there and watched an entire game.
Yeah, no, there was nothing else going on in the sporting world except that. So,
wow, it's that whole game. That's unbelievable. I watched State Property 2, which was good. I haven't seen that in a few years, so I was nice to watch that. But yeah, let's get into the show here. What's up, SBR Forum, O'Deer, and Neil? A lot of where's all the people, Donnie? Where are they at?
There's nothing going on. They're sleeping, and they should be. There is not anything going on until Sunday here in the sports world. So we'll try to get these people through to Sunday, Jeff. We get some football.
You must have missed it, but there's a huge basketball card tomorrow that many of us will be interested in.
Come on.
Come on, what?
NHL. Did the NHL even play last night? Were there any games?
No. There's a big college basketball card tomorrow that everyone will be watching.
Yeah, I think most people are going to get out and get their shopping done because there's no college football on. I'm going to take that bet.
Dude,
good day. Good family day
like
tomorrow.
Football is everything. There's other sports going on.
It is. So there's other stuff don't start till after the holidays. You wait. You know what I mean? You say, you know what? When the regular season of football ends, most people open up the paper and be like, oh, Duke looks like they're a good basketball team. And, whoa, the Lakers actually look pretty decent. And, man, look at the New York Rangers. Like that's when those seasons get going.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you think that way, but I'm going to guess 99% of the audience doesn't. So, we gotta hear to them. But let's get into it here. Titans smash the Jags. Cool. Let's talk how great the NFL is, Donnie. This league sucks. That game sucked last night. Who wants to watch that crap? What do you got on?
Yeah, I mean, whether you're not making heavy wagers, you should always have a little bit of money on the home team on Thursday Night Football. Because Donnie Rightside told you probably now, 2 years of doing shows here, and, people didn't pay attention to it. At least they're paying attention to it now. The single most unfair advantage in the history of sport is sending an NFL team on the road on a Thursday night. And the NFL has a remedy, Jeff, that they can use. They can institute the double bye back into football. They can have both of the teams come back. It looks like I'm freezing there over camera. That's no big deal. Can you still hear me on audio, Jeff?
It's really bad audio.
I guess I lost everybody. Yeah, so again, probably having problems here with the internet like we have the past couple of days. But anyway, Jeff, Thursday night football, put the double bye back in the NFL. Can we just put the double bye back so you have a Thursday night game? Both teams are coming off byes. You get a good clean advantage. The home team doesn't have any more advantage than the road team does. Until we stop this, or at least make it fair, because it, again, gets back to the point. Dallas Cowboys, Detroit Lions, single best schedule every single year in the NFL because they don't play a true Thursday night road game. That has to change. There should be class action lawsuits across the NFC against the Detroit Lions and the Dallas Cowboys.
The game itself, a lot of Derrick Henry. I think that's really all you could say about it. Derrick Henry ran wild, and the Jaguars couldn't stop it. Couldn't score the ball, which wasn't surprising. Cody Kessler was the quarterback. It was pretty cut and dry. Couldn't stop Derrick Henry.
Yeah, and again, the other point was, I was tweeting all night last night. Why is Blake Bortles not playing? I guess I see the bigger picture now, where Tom Coughlin, maybe is the mad scientist, says we still have a really good defense. They're not going to play hard because they're out of it and they're going to make a lot of business decisions and not feel like tackling. But maybe next year when we reconvene, we'll get a higher draft pick because Cody Kessler playing in the NFL is kind of hilarious. Blake Bortles would at least gave you a puncher's chance last night of beating the Titans. The minute you see Cody Kessler in there, you get a laugh out of it because he's not an NFL quarterback. He can't operate an NFL system. And then you're at the half down 2 touchdowns, and you say, yay, who are we going to take in the second half? It was pretty clear to take the Titans again in the second half as long as Cody Kessler came out for the second half, and he did, and the Titans washed that football team. And next week, Jeff, let's not get too ahead of ourselves, but you might get Mark Sanchez, Cody Kessler next week as a nice holiday treat. How about that?
Oh, yeah, I'll definitely be watching that game. Can't wait. I'm really excited about that one. Mark Sanchez and Cody Kessler. That should be fun. Titans, could they be playoff bound? Yeah, I mean, to get themselves, it seems like everybody's playoff bound, isn't it? You can be like 6-6, and you're wide.
Yeah, but they're
going
to run. For some reason, these AFC South teams just have a free run at it because the Tennessee Titans should win out and get to 10-6 and get that playoff spot. The same way the Houston Texans might win out and go 13 in a row heading into the playoffs. I guess sometimes it just lines up perfectly on what you want to do because you say, well, what about the Indianapolis Colts? I mean, the Indianapolis Colts might lose the next 2 games. They're at the Texans, then they play the Dallas Cowboys. So that last game of the season between the Titans and the Indianapolis Colts, which should be a huge game, Indy might already be out of it and not playing for anything at that point. So looks like the Titans, I believe, are going to sneak into the playoffs here.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, defensively they're really good. I got to ask you a question about one of the chatters. I'm blown away by this, and I got to understand how this happened. Eric Nisbet claims that he bet Vasily Lomachenko at -110 to win on Saturday. Vasily Lomachenko is a 1-40 favorite, Donnie. That means to win $100, you get about $4,000. I mean,
yep.
How on earth did you find a 110? I get but I see it says you follow boxing. I understand Hale Cash. He's going to win, but how did you lay only 110? I got to know how you did that. And if you did, that's got to be a mistake. Has to be.
Yeah.
That's Donnie. That's like Mike Tyson against Buster Douglas. I mean, it's that kind of
maybe it was like knockout in the first minute. Maybe you can get those odds.
Yeah, well, yeah, maybe. That would be the only way. I have to know how that happens because I'm floored by it. Ski Prophet, what's up? Jawan, Theodore. Who else do we have? Troy V, Matt. Everybody in here, welcome in. So yeah, maybe the Titans are a playoff team. We'll see. Got about how many weeks left on football? 3.
Well, starting it's 4 games starting this weekend, so 3 for the Titans left.
Yeah. No, Vasily or Eric Nesbitt, he's not 40-1. He's 1-40. That means you have to lay 40 to win.
Maybe his local was a little bit off, Jeff. Maybe it's an old school local that makes up his own lines and just messed up an error, and you could take that bet.
Yeah, I guess I'm confused here by this guy because he's talking about Lomachenko in boxing, get down on him. Then he says, "I pounded him as a 110 pick." So I guess I'm not understanding this here, but whatever. Tua Tagovailoa, he wins the Maxwell Award.
Mm-hmm.
All these award shows. Listen, I always like that these guys get recognized. Some of these guys that maybe we forget about. The best, the Bednarik Award or whoever. Some of these guys, nice to see them get recognized. That kid that has cancer, he was there, and that was nice to see. All that stuff. No, I like when they award these people.
Yeah, I mean it's nice to see, but I would also wonder who gets more ratings. Does this award show get more ratings, or that nonsense that they put on the playoff show the past couple weeks? Because it's almost played. And again, I don't know. Maybe you have to be nice in these day and ages, but why do we always have to split the award? Like, why does Tua get the Maxwell and Murray gets top quarterback? Isn't that like doesn't that like counterbalance? Like, so this guy is the actual best player in the country award, but he's not the best quarterback. Does that even make sense? Either if you're the best player in the country, doesn't matter what position you play, shouldn't you also win that award for your position?
Mm-hmm.
Ed
I was
Oliver's
gonna. I was gonna.
the best defensive player in the country, but he's not the best defensive tackle. What the hell does that even mean?
Yeah, I'm Kyler Murray. I'm getting sick of. I mean, Tua Tagovailoa is the best quarterback in the country. It's not close. Stop trying to make it close. It's not close. Give me a break here with this.
Yeah, I guess you
I
got
don't
to.
understand.
I guess you have to. I guess you have to extrapolate though, because also, I mean, look, the numbers that Kyler Murray put up are insane. But would he have the same numbers if Kyler Murray only played the first 2 quarters of every game? I mean,
Right.
it's pretty funny how you had Tua was like a minus 5,000, and then over the last 2 weeks, that there's some TV games for Kyler Murray in a zero defense league, and now all of a sudden he's supposed to be the favorite to win the Heisman. He's a great college football player. There's no question in my mind. But come on, if you're playing half the snaps, is that equal? And if you're playing an SEC defensive schedule and lighting them up, is that fair also? I would have wanted. I love this. What happened? Let's put Tua in Oklahoma's Big 12 and put him in their offense. What does he do?
No, you're totally right. I agree with you.
Here.
And Tua didn't even play the fourth quarter in a lot of games. Remember?
That's what he doesn't even play the second half in a lot of games.
What do you got on Alex Smith, Donnie?
Oh, yeah, interesting there. You saw he snapped the bone in a compound fracture, which means the bone comes through pierces the skin. But he's having some serious medical condition difficulties there with infection throughout his body. So, they're setting up the white flags, pray for Alex Smith, and is his career done, or is this life-threatening? So, one of those weird instances where you get hurt on the football field, breaking a leg, and then all of a sudden it turns into something much, much more. Because how many times do we see you go down to Dr. Andrews for like a knee scope or you get something out of your shoulder operated on. They always say right after the surgery, well, everything went perfectly. And everybody jokes like, does it ever not go perfectly? Well, it looks like the Alex Smith surgery didn't go perfectly. Now you're going to have some issues here with it.
So he's having infections or something.
Yeah, infections all throughout like the leg area, and it might spread, and they're trying to like keep it under control. So scary situation for an injury that was devastating on the football field. But one would think you heal up, and he's got a lot of guaranteed money, and he's a little bit older, so he can probably retire. But now throw these medical conditions in there on that, kind of scary.
See you later, Alex Smith.
Yeah, and I said it was probably a good thing for the Redskins moving forward. Alex Smith ain't doing anything for your organization, man. Come on. Isn't it amazing, Jeff, that Alex Smith loses his job in San Francisco? They get better. Alex Smith loses his job in Kansas City. They get better. Come on, man. There's a little bit of a pattern here.
He's a game manager.
Now, don't get me wrong. If you want to win if your goal in the NFL is like, look, we need to sell tickets. We just have to be competitive. The last 4 games of the season, we're playing for something. Get the Alex Smith out there. I guess that's what you look at.
UCF still not happy about they didn't even get a sniff for the college football playoff, Donnie. Just an 8th in the final ranking. AAC commissioner. Unfortunately, there's this perception of our conference, which is flat out wrong. Like somehow we play JV football, which is ridiculous. Yeah, there's a pecking order in college football. How many fans can name the teams in the AAC? How many fans even know what AAC stands for? That's the problem. If you want to be recognized, go play in the Big Ten. Go to another conference. Again, I don't know why this is so difficult. We get it's unfair. We all know it's unfair. Everyone should have the same shot to get to the championship as everybody else. But that's what's wrong with college football, UCF. And until you understand that and go play in a real conference, you're always going to have this problem. You could go 13-0. It doesn't matter. You're not getting in because you're UCF. It's just the truth. Go play in the SEC. Go play in the Big Ten. Go play in one of them conferences. Even ACC. Go play there. You have a shot. You play in the AAC.
Well, you can't. You're not going to. Yeah, you're not going to move up. But they don't really have much of a leg to stand on because the rules
then
are the
you're
rules.
not going
It
to
wasn't.
win.
it wasn't made up on the fly coming in. Like if you like, there's nothing written in there that says if you are undefeated, no matter what, you're going to get into the playoff. There are some salient points that the UCF guy does make up because these, schedules are made years and years in advance. And also the simple fact that he does bring up 19% of the basketball teams in college basketball get into the field of 64, and only 3% of the football teams actually make it into the playoff. That's the issue. If UCF really has a problem, which is a shame because their window's going to close. I mean, they're not just going to go undefeated every year. Now that Mackenzie Milton looks like he's not going to play football again, it's going to be a tough road for them going forward. You don't have Scott Frost anywhere. Now you're going to have to make sure those recruits come in under Heupel. So, I mean, it does get harder and harder. That window's going to squeeze shut, but it just says it to the larger picture. If UCF really has a problem, don't get mad at the way the college football setup is right now with the playoff. File a lawsuit. File a lawsuit against the NCAA that says, let me understand why Division III, II, and FCS has a large playoff, but yet we don't have it at our level of college football. Everybody would make more money. Everybody would be happy.
That's what I'm trying to say, Donnie.
Yeah.
Don't be mad at that.
Well, you can't
Don't be
play,
mad at
but you can't play in a different conference. You're not in a different conference, though.
I'm not saying, but you're missing them. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying you should be mad at how this is set up, not mad at where you play. It has nothing to do with it. Like I said, if you want to go and compete like that in this current landscape, you're going to have to go to a different conference. In the conference they're in, they can't get into the college football if it doesn't suit them. So yes, as you said, be mad at the way it's set up. It's not set up correctly. We agree with everyone there. No one's going to disagree with UCF there. But don't complain because you don't get in. You're not getting in because
imagine because they don't. I still don't understand like college football, college campuses, presidents, conferences. It isn't all about money, Jeff. We can agree. Everything is about money. And it's one of those things where I look at the same thing when I take a look at the NFL. It's all about money, but sometimes I don't understand what they think about. Can you imagine, Jeff? Ready? The direct TV ticket that you get, like 2% of the country can actually get it. The amount of money, Jeff, the NFL would make along with cable subscribers or cable companies if I have Comcast. Imagine if Comcast said, hey, Donnie, you want to get the ticket? $199 a year. They would sell 50 million subscriptions instead of like 1 million. You see what I mean? Like sometimes they do stuff that makes no sense to me because if you have a 2014 playoff in college football, the money would go up tenfold on broadcast rights, and that would all filter into college football. I sometimes I don't understand the decision making of some of the biggest entities in the world.
College football has always been a mystery, Donnie, as we talked about before. One other thing, Donnie, tonight, Maine, Weber State, and FCS. I like Maine. I think they're the better team.
Where are we at? Warno? Where are we at?
No, it's out in Weber State. I like Maine here a little bit.
Yeah, I would like Maine at home. I would like the Bears up at home, Jeff. I think they would have a nice advantage, maybe 20-degree weather. I think it would have been a nice advantage for them.
But they are the better team. I'll take a shot with Maine here.
Now if Maine's the better team, why are we playing at Weber State? What's the deal here?
Because they're just ranked better, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, like we had last week, like with Colgate. Colgate was at home but getting 7. Like I'm saying, like what does it make sense?
It's a ranking system, I guess.
Hey, it's really weird. Like the better team on the road, like backwards.
Army Navy. Let's get into that, Donnie. I mean, we talked about Army Navy pretty much ad nauseum 3 or 4 different times, but let's talk about it one last time. Army 7, total 40, team total. Army 23.5, Navy 16.5. Weather will be fine. It's going to be cold, but that's about it. It's going to be nice and clear. No precipitation, no real wind to speak of. Donnie, as this week's went on, I've kind of been interested a little bit more and maybe thinking that, do you look at this game if you're Navy and just say, well, yeah, we know the season's not been good, but this is the big game. And of course, that's the way they're going to look at this. This is the biggest game of the season. It's beat Army time. It's let's put all the wrongs behind us after this year. Let's go out and beat the team that we need to beat. This is all that matters anymore. And, we're going to give them 4 quarters. And, do you just think that way if you're Navy at this point and you're looking at Navy at this point? There's no real advantage for either team, I don't think. I mean, they both run the ball effectively, and they're both pretty good at stopping the run. I like Army obviously a bit more defensively. Um, but as the weeks went on, I've kind of been more and more interested in kind of thinking, well, maybe it's just like in this kind of game, you just take the 7 always.
No, you're right, because 7 in this game is like literally double digits because of the way the two teams operate. You get limited possessions, so you're going to get more points, and all it takes, which Army doesn't show a lot of, and what I mean by is like, fumbling the football or turning it over or not playing sound type football. But if you can get one fumble or one like play to go against you as Army, on maybe Jeff, just a holding call, right? 3rd and 5, they run a speed option to the right side, and there's a holding call. Now it's 3rd and 15 to get the ball back. That's like a turnover in these football games. I don't know. It's Army's better than Navy. Are you just flipping a coin in this one? Because I mean, I don't see an edge either way. The over/under 40 points in this game, and say, "Ooh, it's going to be cold." And does that matter to throwing football teams or teams that don't throw it at all? I don't think so. So I don't have an edge one way or another, but I can agree with the sentiment. 7, I'll take it in this game.
Keep in mind, Donnie, 4,872 tickets on this game, but 75% are on Army here. Line's been pretty much hanging around 7. So, you got a large group on Army here. No one really has any interest in Navy. So, I mean, and that makes sense. They're a better team than Navy, but I kind of thought, as we kind of looked at this game, Tuesday and Wednesday, well, maybe Army would just kind of impose their will and just beat up a bad team. But then it's like, you know what? This isn't your normal game. This is Army Navy. This is the latest game of the season for Navy. This is we're not going to a bowl game. This is our bowl game. They're familiar with each other. I'm kind of liking that at this point.
Why do these two institutions, right, should be the most boring, like Penn State, ridiculously bad uniforms for both of them. They come up with the most fire concept every single year for both of these teams. And I don't know why. Like we see, like Oregon makes a mockery of themselves half the time with their uniforms. Every time Army, excuse me, Army Navy gets together, both their uniforms are on point every single year with something dope. It's just, I love to see it, just what they come up with and how good it looks out there. It's amazing that these two schools, military institutions, which you figure, we don't change. We're like the Yankees. We wear pinstripes, and we're Penn State. We don't put anything on the back of it. Stop it. These uniforms are dope every single year on both sides.
Yeah, no, you're right on that for sure. Donnie, I wanted to ask you, I was I really like the military academies and stuff, but did you ever I don't think I ever asked you about this. I was watching an Air Force game one time, and it was like a game where it was kind of out of hand. They were just, how they just talk about random shit during the game. They were talking about how like these teams, like when they first, obviously they go through boot camp, all these different Army, Navy, all these different kids. And at the end of boot camp, did you ever hear about what Air Force do? Like what they do for their cadets?
No.
They basically take them in like a plane, and they go to like this remote, like mountainous area, like just out in the middle of nowhere. I want to say they do it in Colorado. Like they take them to some remote area, and basically they just drop them like in the middle of nowhere with like some little rations and like a live rabbit, and basically say, okay, we'll be back in a week. You have to figure out a way to survive this. And they have to basically get through that to survive and to get through the little thing, the boot camp.
Yeah, no, usually it's the freshmen that come up there, and they have to spend a good portion of the summer going through all that training regimen, whipping them into shape, and then you get to start school and have more fun. So the life of a cadet is just I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it because the academics are tough, and I don't really feel like studying all the time. But the regimentation of waking up at like 5 a.m. and then your day ends at 10. But there's no 2 hours in there to get some PlayStation in or do it. You know what I mean? Like you literally wake up and your time is planned for the next 12 hours, and then it's lights out, and then you do it again and again and again. It's amazing.
How long do you think you could last, like in middle of nowhere, like with just a few things?
I don't know. I mean, I guess if I was trained for it, I would be all right. Or but just me today, no, not too long. Unless it's like, well, give me like 70 degrees and. But no, I'm not lasting long now at all.
We talked about that poker player, Donnie, right? That's like sitting in the dark. Did I?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
talked to you about that, didn't I?
yeah. Yep.
Supposedly he's still doing it. Like it's like 12 days in and he's still doing it.
What a waste. Just a waste of time. How's he going to
I
work
don't
on
know
his
how
poker
that's
skills?
I
Yeah.
don't know how that's physically possible as a human being. Like I don't know how you can physically sit for 30 days like that. I just
With
don't. But
nothing. You're in the hole for
yeah,
30 days. Like illegal. Isn't that illegal, like by the government, to put you in the hole for an
but
extended
even
period
in
of
the
time
hole
now?
you have light and like you have
Do you
you like
do? That's what it's called, the
see
hole. I didn't think you had any light in the hole.
no that's not like it used to be. The hole used to be like it's in movies, but now it's just a room with a door and you're by yourself. It's not like they have a light on. It's not like they throw you in some dingy hole somewhere and there's no light or anything and you sit there for 30 days straight. It's not like that now. Uh, but yeah, no, this is all very interesting stuff. The military stuff and what they have to do. And Donnie's right. I mean, they're so regimented that, really don't have time for anything else. Plus, you go play football on top of it, Donnie. So
Yeah, no, yeah,
uh,
exactly. Like there's never any time to, which makes it for a good football program. It makes for a good head coach. You go into the head coach, you know what you're not going to get, Jeff? A lot of lip from those players, right? Hey, you guys are going to
no,
run 6 miles today and then practice. Yes, sir. Sir, yes, sir. Not
sounds
like,
good.
man, I'm out of here. I'm bouncing out of here. You're not going to get much lip out of there. But you want to talk about ringing the bell or just being tough. It's just everything. It's against what the human body wants to do these days, right? Get up really early, work hard all day, and then do the same thing again the next day. It really grinds on you. But that's why kids that make it out of there, they're world leaders, man. They're ready to go because nobody else is doing that.
Yeah, and I think and again, that's why, you kind of love those kind of kids, the kids that are at those kind of places. And, just Donnie really just looking at like Niamatalolo and the kind of coach he is. I mean, he expects that. He expects, and he's able to coach kids like that. But you even look at any coach you go to, any school, whether it's just a regular school. Like I was watching a press conference, Donnie, the other night with Chris Beard, Texas Tech's basketball coach, and just the kind of
Hmm.
coach he is and what kind of coach he is and what he does. He was talking about the other day about one of his players and about how he's really improved as a player because he's basically when he came into school, he was from Africa. He was very he didn't know much. He was just kind of he wanted to think he knew everything and Beard basically said, listen, when he came in here, most coaches would just let him sit on the bench and just kind of learn and watch stuff. He said, but I basically went to him and I said, listen, if you're going to come here, he goes, you have to accept everything. And that means he said he was kind of a little bit overweight even. Like he basically said to him, I don't want you eating. You have to eat a certain way. And so the kid said, okay, I'll eat a certain way. And so he goes down to the I guess the kid got hungry, so he went to Popeyes down the street.
Hmm.
And he did it secretly. No one knew he was there. And a fan came up to him. I guess the fan knew who he was and wanted to take a picture with him or something. And there was like a news guy there somehow. And the news guy kind of, started rolling film and they started talking to the guy and stuff. And the kid said he was so scared because he didn't care that they were filming him. He said, but he just didn't want it to get back to the coach that he was at Popeyes. So the next day, the coach calls him and goes, hey, listen, great work with that fan. He goes, but what the hell were you doing at Popeyes last night? I thought we had an agreement here. And that's just, I guess the more of my story is that's the difference between a coach, someone that actually cares and actually will teach you the way to be better. And then a coach who just says, okay, you're here, watch everybody else and let's hope you get it.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure you had a coach like that, Donnie, that, in Division III. I mean, how were your coaches back then?
Well, my freshman year, I had a really good football coach, some guy you could buy into, but we actually ran when I went to college at my first year. Do you know our offense? I was a wide receiver. Our offense was the wing T, so we threw the ball
Mm,
like 5 times a game, and then we got a new football coach after that. But you have a lot of respect for some people not so much respect. But my high school football coach was the type of guy that you would run through a brick wall for, and he didn't talk to you as a freshman because you didn't play yet, and then until you made some plays on varsity he sort of warmed up to you. One of those father figure type guys, which I always respect and I always say, makes me the man that I am today. But it's interesting as you go through life with different coaches, some that you'd be like, you know what, this guy gets it and he cares. And what's this guy even doing here at this point? You run the gamut of
yeah,
all those, but you do have
yeah, sure.
both of those sides.
Donnie Hugh Freeze agrees to be the coach at Liberty.
Yeah, they got money,
What
man.
the hell?
Liberty's got some
What?
cake,
Hugh
man.
Freeze? What the
I mean, take
hell?
a look at Liberty. First of all, you have Turner Gill for 7 years. He turns the program like from FCS into a FBS, and they're 6-6. They're competitive. They have a ton of money. Do you know their AD, Jeff? I mean, you talk about like them saying, we want to be good at athletics. They hire the AD that got thrown out of Baylor to run their system, and then they say, you know what? We're going to play this like the Cincinnati Bengals right now, Jeff. We're going to go and get Hugh Freeze. Nobody's going to touch Hugh Freeze. They tried to hire him in the SEC, Saban, maybe be an offensive coordinator, and they blocked it. They go, let's lay some money out. Let's get Hugh Freeze in here, and we'll start being able to recruit. Liberty taking that Cincinnati Bengals approach, Jeff, to the athletics to say, we're going to make it here one day. It's amazing.
Keep in mind, Liberty University's run by like televangelists, I think.
Yeah, they got cash. Yep.
So they're like those. We'll give a second chance to a child of God. Those
yeah. So Hugh Freeze was in the. He has got introduced to, I guess, not the fan base, these students, but it was in the chapel, and he can be like, you know what? In front of God, I sinned. I mean, it's great. They need to have a next year, instead of doing like the ESPN Plus things with like Coach K, send them the Hugh Freeze at Liberty next year. I would watch that, man.
I'm trying to think. What's Jerry Falwell? I believe is the guy that runs it.
Yep.
Yeah, total creep. Yeah,
they got a ton of money, but they are forcing their way into Division I football, and it's kind of fun to watch.
Hey, Donnie, back to Army Native for a second. You remember I think it was last year, where I guess didn't they interview Trump last year at the game, and they're like talking to him, and he goes, I mean, this isn't the most interesting game or anything, or something like that. Do you remember that? He kind of said something funny.
Yeah, I remember because I think Trump gave like the commencement speech at Liberty and started talking about their football schedule.
He may have, but I remember at the Army Navy game, someone had an issue with the fact that he called the game like boring because they just ran the ball and everything, and he's just like, this. I mean, I gotta pull that interview.
He's going to the game this week. Yeah,
cool. But yeah, no, Army Navy will be fun. Always a cool spectacle. But I didn't know Hugh Freeze was the coach at Liberty. Thank you, Dominic. I didn't see that. What else, Donnie? NFL weekend coming up. What, Donnie, are you seeing here? Do you want to get into the listeners?
Let me see what we got here. We'll bring it up on the screen. Just interesting, little tidbits in the NFL to keep your eye on. How much does Carolina have left in the tank? How much does Cam Newton have left in the tank? If some people watched the ending of the Carolina Panthers Tampa Bay Bucks game last week, you notice that Cam Newton wasn't even in the game to throw the Hail Mary pass because he's struggling with shoulder issues at this point. Will he have surgery in the offseason? So I say to myself, I can't wait to bet Cam Newton now that we know his shoulder is bad and it wasn't just a mistake of a couple weeks ago where, Riverboat Ron was saying, what are you kidding me? Playing this weekend, he's fine. We just gave him a day off. I always love when NFL coaches and organizations are allowed to lie about the injury report. So now it comes out that he's, having a little bit of arm problems, just the way you want to bet it, Jeff, right? Maybe 35-degree Cleveland, a little bit windy out there. Something to keep an eye on. Also, talking about cold weather, Jeff, how are those Los Angeles Rams going to do in the Windy City on Sunday Night Football, playing in the mid to low 20s against a pretty stellar defense? Seems to me like a lot of Todd Gurley's going to be out there. But I do want to see how Jared Goff operates. If you're looking at both of those quarterbacks, Jared Goff or Mitchell Trubisky, in cold weather, maybe some windy weather, Trubisky's going to lean on his legs a little bit more, a lot of rollouts. I know that Sean McVay gets, Jared Goff on the run, but his arm not quite as strong. We'll see if that plays into something there as well. Depleted Denver, Jeff, trying to hang on to that wild card 2 spot and make it. You're going to have now a wide receiver down in this spot. You're going to have a starting cornerback down in this spot. You're already injury ravaged on the front line, so you're going to lean on Case Keenum back there and hope the young kid Lindsey can power you through. But having said that, I do see some sharp money, Jeff. 5.5, 4.5 down to 3.5 in that Denver-San Francisco game. And I take a deep breath on that because I do know Denver's a little bit injured, but I think we can all agree, Nick Mullins as your starting quarterback to win that football game. I mean, he's Cody Kessler. He's that long line of just super trash can quarterbacks that the only reason he's out there is to tank. So if you're saying, you want to be sharp this week, Jeff, with the 49ers and say, I'm going to back Nick Mullins in this game to beat a team fighting for a playoff spot, even though they are injured. I can't do it. I don't care how sharp it is and they're home. It's Nick Mullins. He's atrocious. If C.J. Beathard was in this football game, I would lay the wood on San Francisco getting 4 or 4.5. But Nick Mullins is atrocious. You know what I mean?
Not a fan of the kid from Southern Miss. No Brett Favre. We know that. Donnie, Athletic reporting that Jeff Collins is the new coach at
Yeah.
Georgia Tech. And Temple, the problems continue. They just cannot keep a football coach, Donnie. And this is the life of being in the AAC. You're not a high institution, unfortunately. And Donnie, to me, you know what Temple needs to do? And I want to liken this to another program down in that conference. I am very impressed at what East Carolina did by hiring Mike Houston. I think he's a coach that'll stay there for a good amount of time. They got to go down to those ranks. Go down to the FCS ranks. Grab yourself a really good coach. Go get your coach from
Yeah,
there.
but it's always going to be a stepping stone. I mean, take a look at the last couple coaches, Jeff, that got out of there. Like Al Golden goes to Miami, and then Adazio goes up to BC.
Because you're
Matt
targeting
Rule goes
big
down
coaches.
to Taylor,
that's why.
And then you have Collins. Yeah, but you have to. That's the way you do it, though. You have to. You go to the FCS level. If you get an FCS level coach in 3 years, he's gone to a bigger school.
Get a Craig Bowl.
He's not going to stay just because he's there.
Craig Bowl did. Get a guy like that. Craig Bowl
from Wyoming. That guy's old. He's like going to retire in Wyoming.
And he's a heck of a coach. And he'll
he's
coach
a great
the
coach,
hell
but he
out
already
of you.
has his inroads there.
Listen, and that's, again, if that's what you said, that's what's being Temple. I just think for me, at least get 5 years out of an FCS coach. Go down there and get some money, win something. And yeah, it's unfortunately the problem of being Temple and football. This is what happens. And you're losing out on a lot of really good coaches, but they have to understand this is what's going to happen. Also, Donnie, we unfortunately, and my apologies, it's my job as a host to remember this. Pearl Harbor today, Donnie, 1941, a day that will live in infamy. We're talking about the war, military. We think about those people today. Yeah, so you always sometimes you forget things like this, but
no, the greatest, and they say, Jeff, the greatest generation. I mean, the greatest generation to ever walk around in the United States was that generation. I can't imagine, and it's great that you get to talk about it when it's Army Navy weekend. There's not a lot of football, but I don't know how you have the courage of being an 18-year-old. You go to boot camp, and then in war, like we're not talking about modern day war, which is ridiculous as it is. You don't know who's the enemy anymore. But I'm just talking about you're in your battalion, and oh, by the way, we're going to storm this beach, and you say, well, there's just laid with rifles and shotguns and machine guns that your job is to just run in front of it and see if you can make it up the hill. And these kids did that. Kids, and I talk about kids, 18, 19, 20. Those sacrifices that I don't know, like my generation, any generation, the sacrifices they made were just like, I'm 18, I'm probably going to die today, but I'm still going to, put up a fight. I can't imagine ever being that tough or that, ready to go. I just can't.
And that's why you look at you look at where we are today as a people, and there are still people that will do this. There are still courageous individuals that will go out and go to war, but there are also a group of people, and most people, that won't. And Donnie, you look at the movie Shawshank Redemption, the one part where that Brooks guy, the older guy, basically says this world that we're in, it's just not for me. I'm not. Yeah. It's not what I'm cut out for. I don't understand it. It doesn't understand me. And sometimes, even myself, I think about that, because there's, as you just said, I mean, that level of courageousness. It's just not. It's just not
like
there,
being on a submarine or like on a Navy ship, and you're just doing battle with other ships, and you're floating in the ocean, or you're just I always if you see the war, they tend to sensationalize the bigger efforts, like storming Normandy, and you just watch Private Ryan, and you see that first scene, and it hits you so hard because again, they're kids, man. They should be in college, just getting out of high school, and they're running up a beach with barbed wire, just in something they don't even know, just getting annihilated, and they keep coming wave after wave after wave just to take that beach. And I can't imagine being one of those young kids on there, and the the bridge goes down on the boat pulling you up, and it's go, and they went. You know what I mean? Just the simple stuff, like you're laying in a bunker, and your commander's let's go over there, and you're saying to yourself there's thousands of people on the other side just waiting for me to pop up and shoot, but yet I'm still going to go over this bunker and try to charge. It's it's amazing to think about the how lucky we are that people actually did that for us today.
I often think though about like that day, like the Omaha Beach or wherever, but like,
Yeah.
and I'm curious, like, how do they decide who would be in the front of the sub? Like,
Or I guess just like the grunts. Like, I mean, you have just Army infantry. You know what I mean? You have you have the cadets, or not the cadets, excuse me, the officers. But like, yeah, like you. Hey, well, what are we going today? Well, we just got our orders, and get ready. We're going to storm the beach. And you see because again, the officers aren't showing them the map or the game plan. They're just saying, hey, look, load up this boat. There's our objective. See that hill? We have to take it today. And nobody got off the boat and tried to swim backwards. They all went forward into the fight, man. What a generation. What a generation.
Yeah. No, you're and that's why I feel like for me, every time I see a person that lived in that generation, I almost want to say, even like
Yeah,
not
you see
even
the old
war
timers
Donnie
with the
though, but
hats, and they take a lot of
yeah,
pride in that. Like sometimes you don't understand growing up, like, oh, this guy's wearing like the USS, whatever boat. They take a lot of
mhm,
pride. They go to the VFWs. They hang out with their friends. They talk it over on a beer because those guys did stuff that nobody should ever do or see, and were able to make it through and get back and live to tell about it. That's how important it is.
yeah, no, you're 100% right. Even Donnie, that era of people, the 30s, the 40s,
Yeah.
it was just it seemed just like a better. I mean, clearly it's nowhere like now, but it just seemed like a great time to be. I know
Yeah,
maybe not the
booming. You had
30s,
less
just
technology. You came home from the
yeah,
war.
not
You
because
got a job, and yeah, no, I
and
hear
the
you on that.
depression,
Yeah.
obviously, wasn't a joyous time, the 29, 30 area. But like Donnie, last night, I don't know why I looked this up, but I was watching these old. It was weird that I was watching this, but it popped in my head for some reason. I thought I got a kick out of it. I think it's funny. But have you ever watched like, or any of you watched like the old like Little Rascals uh,
Yes, sure.
things? Like they were made in like the 30s, like 35,
Mhm.
40, that era, and it's just like it's really funny. Like it's funny shit. Like, but
Yeah.
it's almost kind of interesting too because in one of the episodes it's like a little 10-minute thing, and Spanky pretends to be Buckwheat in one of the
Uh-huh.
episodes,
Yep.
and it's interesting how like he has blackface and he has like the little
Mhm.
bows in his hair, and he tries to pretend to the bullies in the neighborhood that he's Buckwheat, and Buckwheat ends up coming out, and they go, "Hey, Buckwheat!" And then they see Buckwheat, and Spanky has some trouble. But you think if anyone did that today, Donnie, what
No, you
the
can't do that. Yeah, it's a completely different. There
what
was no
the
such thing as PC back in the day at all.
yeah,
So
yeah,
even 10
but
years, you can't do the same stuff you did 10 years ago. So I mean, it's always going to be changing on that.
yeah, yeah. But I don't know how I came across those, but they're on YouTube. But yeah, all right. Well, we'll move on here. Carlos Hernandez not happy with our history talk. Because so many people died in a fucking war, getting their heads blown
Yeah,
off. But Carlos would
might
rather
not even
talk
be
about
here, right?
sport.
Yeah, let the Nazis take over the world,
See,
and we're
that's
not doing
everything.
it.
That comment right there is everything wrong with this country. I'm sure Carlos is probably 19 or 20, has no care for anything that happened in the world. What a shithead. You're a real shithead, Carlos. You know that? Real shithead. Get a fucking life, will you? I mean, we're talking about people that
And
were
it comes out in the
killed.
Army Navy game, right off the Army Navy game. Come
Yeah,
on, this is the
exactly.
time you're supposed to talk.
You gotta love these people. I thought this was a sports channel. It's a morning show. We're talking about real shit. This is what we're supposed to do. We know what we're doing here. We're having conversations.
Jeff,
Is that a meme?
Jimmy Legg said dude pulled blackface at his high school back in '02.
Yeah, well, even then, not good.
Last one topic
Uh,
down the bottom, Jeff. Andrew Luck's running out. I just mean by the season there. You had a shot, you blew it. Now you're going to be facing the uphill battle. You go on the road, Jeff, versus Houston, the red hot Houston Texans. Then you get the Dallas Cowboys right behind that. You go into these football games, Jeff. It was fun. Frank Reich. It was really fun. Andrew Luck, great season. But you ain't going to the playoffs here. So I think time's running short for those Indianapolis Colts, Jeff.
yeah, that division is kind of a mess. You got the Texans
Weird.
who are playing well, but are they going to keep it up? You got the Colts had looked good, and then they get shut out by the bit. I mean, the Jags defense stinks. I mean, what the hell
Well,
happened there?
you know what? I'm glad you brought that up because I have a bone to pick real quick. Let's just say you're the Colts, right, Jeff? Instead of saying, I'm Mr. Aggressive, Frank Reich, and you take a tie in the Houston Texans game early in the season, right? Helps you right now. Helps you a lot. And let's go back to the Jacksonville game where Cody Kessler is the quarterback. Jackson will be lucky to get 10 points in that game. But I'm Mr. Aggressive Frank Reich. I'm just going to pass on every field goal I get. Man, Frank, come on, brother. You should have been in those games, what, worst case, 1-0-1, and then be like, you know what? We're going to make the playoffs. But because you're analytically correct, you're going to go home. Congratulations, computer geek.
Big man's triple chin and third grade haircut look like roadkill. Thanks for watching. That's Bear Justin.
Man, how did you know you're in the third grade?
We appreciate him watching. Without him, I don't know how we'd continue as a group. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a great weekend.
He has
too,
to watch. I don't think anybody should ban that guy. We need him in here, though. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to make any money in there. You know what I mean? So,
thank you for a great comment by you, and have a great week.
Hey,
somebody what else? Somebody beat him up. Got him out of here. I like the quick draw, Raphael. Get him out of here. Put him in the bathroom, motherfucker.
The name was correct, though. SBR Junkie. So, I mean, there is some things shooting through his veins, I guess.
He was in here. He was in here yesterday with his crap. Donnie, let's get into college basketball.
That took us from 176 to 175, though. That hurt. That one hurt us. So, all right, what do we got? College basketball today. Let's have some fun in this. Short slate, Jeff, as it was yesterday. Some slim pickings out there. UMass Providence, TCU USC, and JMU GMU. Obviously, James Madison and George Mason, if you weren't really familiar with those two schools. But also interesting here, Jeff, a couple of these games playing on neutral courts. I know you're a big fan of that. New Mexico and St. Mary's on the neutral court, as well as TCU and USC. Now, I haven't checked into any of that. One game's at 7, one's at 9:30. I'm going to assume they're played in the same place, those two games, or no? Do I have that wrong?
I believe they're both in Arizona.
Yeah. Yeah, all right. So there you go. Not in L.A.?
No.
I think St. Mary's is in L.A., so USC. Would think it would be like a Staples Center arena to me, no? Well, I guess it's in Arizona.
Oh, wait, you're right. Staples Center, sorry.
Yeah, there you go. Look at that educated guess by me, Jeff. How about that?
But yeah, as far as TCU USC, I have these two teams pretty close. They're both good. I don't think they're great. They both have good ball handlers, both good guard, have great guard play. I don't know. I think the one – is there really any difference between these two teams, Donnie? I mean, you see the numbers here. Both good offensively, both good defensively. This card stinks, okay? I'm going to say it out loud. There's nothing here. I hate neutral court games. JMU, GMU is interesting because GMU has been really disappointing. I thought this team maybe could, and they maybe still could. I thought they'd be one of the better teams in the American or the A-10 this year. Yeah, they've had some tough games, but you look at the games, Donnie. I mean, all these games they lost. There's no shame in losing them. I mean, Vermont, Baylor, Cincinnati, Georgia Southern. I mean, those are all teams that are good. I mean, you're able to to be pretty solid in those games. You didn't get crushed. JMU is a team that are what they are. They're not a good defensive team, and sometimes they struggle to score the basketball. They're only shooting 47% from 2-point range. GMU should get the job done here. They're at home. Their chance to get a decent win is I think a good one here. This is not a great JMU team. GMU's been disappointing, but with Otis Livingston and Jared Router, I think they have enough to beat JMU. What's the number in this game, Donnie?
Open 6.5, now sits at 5.5. So it was open 6.5, obviously, to George Mason, but now it's dropped to 5. So a full 1.5-point swing at Pinnacle, driving that number down in the favor of James Madison. Yeah,
I mean, and that wait, so Madison's a dog, right? Of course, right?
Yeah, JMU's a dog, yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that going down to 5.5, that's interesting. Maybe they just think it's too many points for GMU, which could surely be possible. But I think George Mason, they've been a bit disappointing, but I think they're much better team in this game. Other than that, I mean,
is there a game at midnight tonight? Because I'm seeing a card to Nevada, Arizona State. Is that tonight? And is that also in Staples Center?
Yeah, it's at midnight.
How about that? Nice little 3-pack out there. Yeah, because I had it lined on my card for tomorrow, it shows. But a nice little midnight. You got some nice action tonight, Jeff. You could stay up all night.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. Definitely we'll be up for this game. Arizona State, very guard oriented.
Mhm.
Not great when it comes to bigs. I mean, that's kind of what they do. They went out and got Zylan Cheatham, which is, a big, and they have some decent bigs, but they're more of a guard oriented team. Nevada, a little bit of a more five tool team. Yeah, but no, decent card here. Definitely some watchable games. But for me tomorrow, it's focusing on that card and getting ready for many games tomorrow. What else do we have here? We got about 8 minutes to go. How many Little Rascals characters can you name? Uh,
Banky?
Spanky, Buckwheat,
Yeah.
Alfalfa,
There
Darla,
you go. Alfalfa's the
uh,
one. Yeah, Darla. There you go. Good for you. Yeah.
Porky.
Huh.
Porky. Porky was Buckwheat's friend. Those are the only ones I know of. I don't know any other ones. Um, Look at goals in tonight's derby between West Brom and Aston Villa. Very good. I agree with that sentiment. Uh, Greensboro sticks out to me most today. Yeah, that's a good one. Greensboro really good. I like that team a lot. I think they're a team that can slay a giant come March. Very good defensively, very good offensively. I mean, you look at 19th in effective field goal percentage, and you look at defensively, they really get after you. You're only letting opponents shoot 47.5% from 2-point range. They need to get a bit better with their 3-point defense. But here's the thing, Donnie. Elon can't shoot the three, so they can't really get exploited that on that level. Just not a lot of things Elon's going to do to bother a UNC Greensboro. I kind of like that one as well. Laying no 11, 12 points in the road is tough to do. But this Elon team, not great. Greensboro should be able to take care of business here behind their best player, Francis Alonso. I agree with you on that a little bit. Donnie, anything else on the
No, we're just
basketball
going over
card?
some Rodney Dangerfield stuff in the chat box here for us, Jeff. Big fan of Rodney Dangerfield, Jeff, or no?
Yeah, no, and Caddyshack, that great part where he goes, "Oh, that's your grandson." Oh, now I know what tigers eat the young.
Man, he was fantastic. That guy was fan. I do miss that guy. But you can always just run those back, back to school. I mean, he has this endless one-liners that you can just quote after quote after quote, man. Jeez.
That part in Caddyshack where he's like at
Mhm.
that where he's at that party or whatever, and he
Yeah.
just starts shredding the whole table. That's
Yeah. Well,
really
that's it.
funny.
Yeah, at the it's like the banquet at one of the nights, yeah. And the guy throws up in his car, and oh man, it's great.
Hey, doll, could you scare up another round for our table over here? I mean, tell the cook this is low-grade dog food. I've had better food at the ball game. This steak still has marks from where the jockey was hitting it. That's
It's
funny.
tremendous. Yep.
He called me a baboon. He thinks I'm his wife. That's funny. Yeah, that's a funny movie, man. Um, Providence or UMass? UMass is not playing well. What else do we have here? Um, yeah, guys. Again, I haven't looked much into this card yet. I haven't checked it out much yet, so I have to take a look here. But Donnie, any other football comments here before we wrap it up?
No, not very many football games to go over. And if you watched all week long, I think we covered every single game 97 times already. And we have our WCKG show in the afternoon, which we'll cover it for the 98th time. Then it'll be in the Audible, and I'll cover it for the 99th time this week. So got a lot of football on the
Yeah,
schedule today,
yeah.
Jeff.
It's tough sometimes, guys, when you're doing all these shows. I mean, sometimes the
You don't
content.
have any college football. Yeah, like usually we have 3
Uh,
college football games on a Thursday, on a Friday, a Thursday night football game, a huge card Saturday. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those weeks where you really earn your money by having to come up with content. I thought this was a sports show.
Yeah, and you got to kind of fill time. It's tough. But then you can always when there's college football, you just kind of go back to okay, Donnie. So what do you think of this game? Or whatever. It's tough. So we'll wrap it up. We'll take we'll have some fun with the Army Navy game, and yes, later today we will get into the NFL card. We'll go through a couple of those, try to find some angles in the NFL games, and yeah, fire in, Donnie, as they say.
Judge Schmales, baby. Let's go. No, we'll have a good time. It's, ran it out. Look at that. 55 minutes, Jeff, of not very much going on in sports. And we were able to make it through, Jeff. We didn't stutter. We didn't stammer. We didn't stare at each other. Look, we had a good time.
Yeah, it's tough sometimes. Everyone have a great day. Thanks for joining us here on the right side of campus. We'll be back Monday, same time, same place, 10 o'clock a.m. We'll be on at 3 o'clock. If you want to join us, give us a call or just listen. We'll go over some NFL and some other things. Everyone have a great day. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.